second last position, well, joint last position, but it's second. Just after Cloud9 just got eliminated, well, the momentum has instantly been halted and things aren't looking quite as promising as they once were. So I think they've got a point to prove here.
Yeah, for sure. The other worrying thing, especially going into this matchup, not so much for FaZe, is that although like you go back to last year and you look at FaZe and Inferno, you go, okay, it's a bit dicey. They smashed their opposition of Liquid on it at Blast. And just look what they're doing here. Pushing Banana, already looking to push down mid. Look how far it's already gone down. Luckily, coldzera is going to get shut out, and Rain just peeking again and again and again. They're trying to get in the faces of this opponent straight away. The flashbang is perfect as well. And already, well, it hasn't worked, but you can see they're not really showing much respect to Renegades.
Yeah, it's a declaration. It's like, we are going to stand and we are going to trade shots with you. We're not going to completely go into our shell. We know that we're very impressive players. We know that we have that skill to enforce our will on you, but now the utility starts to come in where FaZe are limping back onto the site and has been smoked off in the perspective of Olofmeister on the backside of the garden, and meanwhile Brocky is starting to make a move through on CT.
This is a very tough position for them to get back into. They do have a kit available. I think that's only really one of the saving graces, but they've got no utility to clear out any of these remaining players. Of course, in later rounds, we'll see Molotovs thrown in and potential utility to at least get them back, but they find 2 kills within a matter of seconds. It's going to be left all onto Dexter. The time ticking against him. He dinks up Olof, but Brocky hits the kill straight away, and I don't know how they got away with that. That should have been a T-side round.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm somewhat speechless because it's 2v3, you're smoked out of position, everything is looking like it's just completely snowballed out of control, and then out of nowhere, seemingly, 2 kills come in, and now it's open. And Dexter, this is where the Glock really is terrifying at times when you're on the T side. He actually lands the insta-tap onto the head of Olof, who's defusing, but it just gooshes him. If he has the USB, actually kills him there.
Yeah, that's always one of those ones where you sit at the end of the round and you go, really? Like, really? Come on, man. Like, I did everything right. It wasn't necessarily wrong. I like the nade stack as well, but that's slightly better. Brocky just going to dunk too. Of course, the nades were basically just to try and steal a weapon away. It wasn't really a thought process of winning the round. Like, maybe if there were a couple of people there, you get a couple of kills, you get a bomb plant. Fantastic for Renegades. This round is a no-show, though. They've saved every single penny just to make sure that they can get a buy into the next. So it's all about damage.
It's exactly the state of play. If they can somehow rummage together a plant, even by the skin of their teeth, it would give them something else to play with in the next round, or bolster up a few more grenades, maybe an AWP even in play for Sicko. You know, he's a very solid AWPer. Obviously on the T side, you always run into a few blockades here and there. FaZe actually only have 2 of their 5-man unit over on B, so they're actually going to be outnumbered in terms of manpower, but it's the weapons that are going to prevail with the spray down from Nico. Plenty of money in the bank with the MP9.
Yeah, that's basically as good as it gets for FaZe. Winning around, it was looking dicey, and then you've got this one where it's as simplistic as it gets. They clean things up. They had a majority of rifles as well, which basically means you don't want to be losing any players. You want to keep every single one alive. You don't have too many SMGs, so if one player dies, you're kind of going, okay, we've just lost, what, a heavy investment rather than a save. And now they can just buy back up the utility, and this is looking like a much better buy than you'd normally see going into round number 3 for the CT side. And already, they're taking massive gambles. 4 players on this B side ready and waiting for FaZe Clan. They've left Rain all on his lonesome. There's a hell of a lot of utility being thrown down Banana. Unfortunately for them, the play hasn't really worked. There's nobody there. I like the attempt, but the T's are just going to be patiently waiting, and probably a good decision from the Renegades, considering they don't have that much utility themselves going into their first buy.
Because they've been so conservative with it, they still have enough to execute on either side, including a Molotov. 4 smokes, flashes, and some HEs for good measure. You can see 2 of them, though, from FaZe, going to be tossed in, up and over, trying to catch Renegades if they were just stalling at the top of Banana. Not really going to impact too much onto Inns, who's down to 76, and the return nade obliterates Nico down to 5 HP.
Yeah, it's some little pieces being thrown in there by Renegades. Just dunking the nades over the top leaves him so desperately low. The issue is they don't have that much presence on the other side of the map, but it seems like the CT side are slightly unaware. The rotation of Olof begins, and the late smoke is going to hold the T side there just that little bit longer. They still have smokes available to get this execution going, but all the Molotovs are gone. So any corner plays, either sneaky plays, are going to be tough to break down, and Olof's already going to start it off in a good Molotov to slow them further.
Yeah, they heard the tag of the Molotov. That's an early warning system, and it just sprays up through the smoke. Second kill comes in. They still haven't dealt with the boost from Nico either, and he patiently waits and anticipates the push, and he's going to get rewarded, as will FaZe. 10 seconds left. Hats, at least the smoke is cleared to maybe try and take some damage down, trades weapons, and Nico is there with a deagle. FaZe Clan off to a fantastic 3-0 start.
Yeah, that was perfect with the way they used their utility at the end as well. And again, whenever a team has that many grenades left going into the last 30 seconds, that's when you know they're confident. Like most of the time, you'll see them thrown down banana or just used maybe at like 40, 45, maybe even 50 seconds because you're going, I don't want them anywhere near me. FaZe are going, we got 2 people here. Let's just throw it down right at the end. Let's put a panic on the Renegades. And because of that, sure, they managed to get a little bit further into the site than you might have expected, but that wasn't even hard for FaZe to win that initial round.
Once the early damage was inflicted to Nico, you feared the worst, but they had a perfectly timed rotation. As you say, holding onto those nades made it that much more difficult to execute with. And our Renegades onto Deco. Not something we see too often. It's full Desert Eagles with a Kevlar behind Dexter. No grenades purchased. So all about those one taps if they can land them.
Yeah, they've definitely been a team who can, especially on a map like Dust 2, where there's a few more open avenues. That's where you are going to see the Renegades able to make these buys work. So it's definitely not for FaZe Clan to sleep on this side. However, a nice little crossfire. Olof clearly feeling confident with his aggressive peak so far. And this is just a battle for who can get the most kills here. Peaks out from both players, just cleaning things up. 4 in the end for the Swede. And well, to be honest, you can almost see like Nico going, no, this is a race. Like, I've got to get there first. I want these eco frags. 4-0. Completely clean again, so that means that their money is completely booming at this point. But we're finally going to see a better purchase from Renegades. They've got the AWP, they've got decent utility, even the Kriegs are going to start sneaking in. And this is where we hope to see them start to challenge FaZe.
Yeah, just a lowly 4 kills in 4 rounds is going to hurt from Renegades' perspective as FaZe are starting to look pretty healthy in terms of funds. Nico, 8,000. Olof, over 7,500. Going to be in an island between 2 Molotovs on Banana, but pretty much undeterred. Inns only takes 19 damage for his trouble. It's a triple stack in apps, though. This is spicy from FaZe.
This is those sort of plays that I don't know if they do this against other teams. Like, it's really risky, but it's cool at the same time because they have this crossfire off of each other. The chances are that the first contact comes in from Rain, but they don't expect Cold to be there. It's just how long they hold this. And it's probably after Hat spots it out that, yeah, now they're just going to fall back. And that's perfect. They find the opening kill. They're not going to take too many risks with sticking around and basically waiting. The only issue is that they have left Brocky completely solo on the other side of the map. But with the couple of openers they've had, the Incendiary going down to slow down the T's push, there should be support there by the time the push actually comes in.
Brocky is just limiting a few more avenues with a bit of utility placed down and actually denies the bomb from being planted as well. And Nico comes in with one of his own. It's all slipping away. And to make matters worse, we said leading into the climax of this round, Renegades have 4 kills in 4 rounds. They didn't get a single one in round 5. FaZe's economy is already in such good shape and we're just starting the map off.
They didn't even come close. Like, that round was so clean. Like, the initial setup, wonderful. Then you have the peek in as well. I think Brocky, for someone so young, to be able to just basically go, I don't need to be the man just getting all of the kills. I'm going to wait for the retake. That was the plan. The plan was a retake. They go 5v3, easy. And then they kill 2 players through smoke. And that's just going to be the nail in the heart of any Renegades fans where it goes, they couldn't have even done much there. Like, passing a smoke to just get the bomb down, and you're screwed already with 1 player surviving. So, yeah, it's been dominant so far, and it doesn't look like it's stopping. We can see FaZe getting more and more confident by a moment that passes. Peeks into the apartments, already getting initial kills, nade damage coming in as well. The Deagles haven't even been able to really spot anyone out just yet, and they're already at such a deficit. And Cold Zero just playing this bait angle. He's just waiting. The timing's perfect. Nice shot from Hats, though. That's a quick trade to make at least, but they're still in such a detrimental position already into this round.
Yeah, just the Deagles to play with and a HE on top of it. FaZe eyeing up a 6-0 lead, but they can't get complacent. They can't give any opportunities away. The Deagle can be so very dangerous. Olofmeister continues to pad his stats. He's now up to a very healthy 10 frags to his name. And In's rummaging round middle. Going to see if maybe he can put that laser precision to effect. Nope is the answer. And 6-0. This is already looking pretty troublesome for Renegades.
Pause, please. Take a pause. Take a moment. Don't just keep this bombardment going. They've now had a couple of buy rounds as well, so it's not even like you go, oh, they're just winning the follow-up rounds. They're just like, these are dominant buy rounds as well, even with that third round purchase where FaZe still had an SMG in the mix. Like, you haven't even come close to winning a round. I think there needs to be a break for Renegades to just go, okay, things are going wrong. We need to talk about this. We need to see how we're going to switch things up. And for now, they're just going to continue. And it just is getting ridiculous. This is another push down mid. Olov is already all the way down. He's still yet to die, which you never know. That may be the caster curse coming in, but the flashbang is perfect from Nico. Not something I thought I'd be saying too much in my casting career, that Nico's going to be setting up teammates to get frags, but hey, it's working, and Olov is still at the bottom of mid.
I can see you actually getting triggered at this, Tom. About to burst the blood vessel. Hopefully, I'm hoping for your health that Renegades do call timeout next, because if not, I do fear the worst for you, Tom.
He's just walked up banana. Like, how many players can you say push mid and then just go, right, and now I'm going to wander up banana? Like, just a casual stroll in the park. He's literally done around the world. Unless he'd gone to T-spawn, that would be the only way he could have gone a bit further. He's now back on Arch. Like, it genuinely feels like Olov has just decided to explore the map for a little bit in this round, and that is a worry for Renegades, more than a worry. I think anybody can see that by now, and there were issues yesterday with their T side. Like, they had a really good CT side. In fact, they were 14-6 up and then didn't win a round from then on versus the CT side of Fnatic. Broky's still in a deep position, but didn't really feel the need to fall back. He is the only defender at the moment for B, but of course, in the meantime, Swede's already rotated back around. Sicko doesn't stand a chance.
He doesn't. He also, in the back of his mind, knows that time is running scarce and wants to die before the end of the round. With max round loss bonus, it does afford them another buy. FaZe 7-0. I jumped the gun a little bit with Olofmeister hitting 10, but he did in that last round. Still yet to die, by the way. Now I've said that, he's going to get one deke straight away. But there you go, Tom. You can rest easy. They called a timeout.
The thing is, you're thinking about the jinx, right?
Yeah.
I said that when he ran down mid, and he still didn't die. So you kind of wonder what he has to do. Like, maybe he will just go and hang out in T-spawn and just ring the bell for a little bit and see if anybody from Renegades comes. But this is, like, for anybody thinking this might be in jest or bad taste, like talking about how FaZe are playing, after yesterday, I was so excited to see Renegades actually play this match, because against Fnatic, their CT side was great. Like, we saw Sicko getting aggressive with the AWP. Dexter was able to get up to his old tricks, like hiding in the corner around the side of Arch and doing it 3 or 4 rounds and still catching players out. Their T side was lackluster, but I was going, okay, they'll have the time to work on it. They'll come into tomorrow and it will be better. But for now, it's more of the same. It's multi-frags coming in for FaZe. They're able to do basically whatever they want. Like, I can't think of a position that FaZe have pushed where I go, oh, that's actually a bad idea. Maybe in the pistol round where they got caught. Other than that, it's been as clean as you like and easy as you like.
And even then, in the pistol, when they made a bit of a questionable decision, they still could rest off their ridiculous individual skill to dig them out of that ditch they'd put themselves in. The worrying thing for me here for Renegades, though, is that Dexter's had a very slow start, and I feel like he is such an integral part of this team. You mentioned on the CT side, he kind of reminds me of Art from Furia when he was landing everything, but just more controlled, a little bit more cerebral in that respect. I think he's such a solid player, but he's yet to get a single kill on the board. And FaZe trying to thwart this Deagle buy once again. It's had no success to date.
Yeah, I compared him yesterday to the way JW used to play Inferno, where he could be anywhere.
That's a good point, yeah.
And it's hard to play against, but that's more the CT side. The T side, he is going to be like grinding out a lot of these rounds for his team. This time they've actually managed to get into the B side, which is something we haven't seen just yet, but there's still Nico standing, but they get one kill. It's up to Brocky now.
It's a really rough position for him, though, because he's got so many players coming to his left-hand side, but the youngster is at least going to make it sting on the approach. Even though it's the closest that Renegades have feasibly been since the pistol, this is where the superior firepower should come into effect. 23 seconds, bomb still yet to be planted. They're trying to waste some valuable time, see if FaZe preemptively push in. Be careful what you wish for, because Olof is on a tear, and he is immortal at this point, still not dying, and FaZe still taking rounds. 8-0 start. It does not get any better than this.
No, and like we don't see these sort of matches from Olov as often anymore. Like that was something that you go back a few years, he's the best player in the world and he's doing this every game. He could run out with a Tech 9 and still kill 4 people. But it's been more, okay, at least even recently, it's been the Nico show. It's been coldzera stepping up. Like he has taken more of a backseat. In this round, he's almost like the prime stake. He's just like running down mid. He does whatever he wants, and it's working. In the retakes, he's been phenomenal from the pistol round to where we are now. And I have to say, I feel bad for Renegades because if Olov's on, if Nico's on, if Brocky's on, okay, do I just stop saying names now? If everybody's on, there's nothing you can do when it's FaZe. That's the issue. If all of their players show up, I don't think it matters who it is, you're dead.
I can't really add much to that, Tom. You've hit the nail on the head multiple times there. It kind of reminds me, because we're both FIFA players, right? Reluctantly, we both hate our lives for it. But, you know,
yeah.
we play FIFA. It's like those icon cards. You have the prime, you have the middle, you have the baby. I think Olof's been playing in that sort of middle area for a while. We're starting to see glimpses of that prime Olofmeister with all those beautiful, juicy stats. They got to check the angle this time. Rain flashed, and Olof goes down. He bleeds like every other mortal it would seem, and that is going to give Renegades a little bit of inspiration, but they still need to get across the finish line. coldzera, that's a shot he should be landing, and he gets punished. Come on, Renegades, you've got to get this round now.
We've finally seen a weakness. Maybe this will be something that, almost like the blood in the water, the Sharks might finally wake up. It's left all onto Nico. Now, they do have a ridiculous amount of cash. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a commentator and I'd like to see him go for this, although that might be the idea in my mind at the moment. But I want to see Nico try. Like, what have you got to lose at this point? You're 8 rounds to the good. You can cause some damage nonetheless. In's just going to be round the corner. And it does look like Nico's going for exits here, which I'm a bit disappointed, I won't lie. And he's going to get shot in the face for it. In's 4K. That came out of absolutely nowhere. But that might be something that finally sparks up Renegades. And I hope it does.
And it was off the back of a couple of whiffs. We've got to be honest here as well. I mean, FaZe have been looking rock solid, but coldzera missed a couple of sitters there on Graveyard. You really expect him to land. There was a bit of an awkward position where Rain got flashed in the alcove, and Olof was a little bit slow to counteract, so it was almost 2 separate 1v1s. Those aren't necessarily plays for Renegades, the point I'm getting to, that you can rely on round in, round out to get you back in the game. It's not as if they tactically just completely outplayed FaZe there.
No, it was just basically a quick arch play, but if that works, that's something they're going to continue by the looks of it. Quick banana control, which they've been bombarded by nades quite often here, and FaZe aren't just going to let them have it for free. There's more incendiaries pushing out. A nice flashbang coming in from Nico. A good start to the round to basically just give them another frag. And the T's, once again, are just going to be left with control, but a man down.
Brocky getting the assist with the flashbang. And now perched up on the close boxes. 12 kills to his name. Nico, 10. Everyone bathing in ADR on the FaZe Clan side of things, as you'd expect with a scoreline like this. Not going to be sending over any premature rotations either. FaZe are happy enough to have full confidence and support in their 2 B players to hold the line. And now there's going to be some nades being tossed in towards the top, and it's going to be a trade. Going in favor of Renegades, though. Although it is still a 3-on-3, and Sicko so fortunate to scamper across with his life. 1 bullet through the smoke and he would have been dead. Are FaZe able to pull off another retake?
They're actually going to flash cold in. I think just a bit of a surprise for the T side that somebody was there so soon. So already they're going to get themselves that man advantage. Cold not quite able to take on the second. And it is now going to be left all onto Rain as the trades come in for the Renegades. He's in with a chance here. You know the Aussies need this slightly more than he does. Rain sneaking his way through. He has the chance for a 1v1, but Hats takes his head clean off. Renegades, they double up with 2 in a row, and they're back at least on the board.
Getting a bit of consistency, but FaZe's economy still in very good shape. There's going to be no freebies for the time being, and even the next round, judging by only Brocky down to below $1,000, they're going to be good to go. The Renegades really have their work cut out for them. Not out of the forest just yet. But there's definitely some inspiring moments that we've seen, Tom, where they're not completely out of this either.
Well, I think a lot of the time just breaking the mold is important. Like, if things are going so badly wrong and you just can't feel like there's a way out, that's where things start to change. But here we go, Hats. He's definitely gained some confidence. He gets that opening pick on Nico, maybe gets a little bit overzealous with his push into the site. But to be honest, I'd rather see that than what we've seen over the previous rounds. Like, go for it. Try and make some of these plays happen. Show the individual brilliance that we know is there from the Renegades. I don't think they're going to expect 2 people within this site still, though. At least not where they are, just sitting back in the corners, almost like the gremlins on the site, just hiding, waiting for the T's to come. But for now, we're seeing probing on the other side of the map. Malta looking to see if there's anybody over on short. Not finding anything as of yet, and because of that, the bomb's actually starting to rotate in his direction.
Could be a free frag for Rain, though, if Malta continues to push out, but he's using that hay bale as cover, as sanctuary. 50 seconds to go. FaZe throwing in the Molotov. It's going to stall a little bit of time, but not anywhere near enough to justify staying with one player over on this site, which is why Olof is now starting to move back into position. Grenade goes down, and Dexter takes off the head of Rain. Olof can't do a great deal from this position, especially as a Molotov's there to greet him. Tosses in the nade, negligible damage, and I think FaZe maybe tapping out for the first time.
Yeah, they are starting to show vulnerabilities when it comes to their finances. Of course, the issue is always going to be that because they had such a big bank, when they finally lose a few rounds, then the loss bonus comes up. So the chances are Renegades are not going to get like an easy free round, maybe in this whole half, just by the way the finances are going to go. But we are starting to see what we almost expected from Renegades. They have these strong individual players. Dexter, that was the most impactful frag in the round. They really gambled on FaZe's side that Rain was going to be able to hold things from there. He was looking in, peeking out, and that instant headshot that just net them the kill, gave them the site. That's round over. So good call in the rotation in the end. I think it was important as well that I think it was Hats who was just having a peek, or no, maybe it wasn't. Somebody was peeking over on that A site to basically give them the information that, okay, they don't actually know how far forward we are. We've managed to gain all of this ground without any info, which, think about back to the first like 6 or 7 rounds, that wasn't even a possibility. There was somebody peeking every single angle from FaZe. So maybe the confidence started to slip back a little bit, and now we're starting to get the Aussies actually having some, well, basically some plays in this match.
Yeah, I mean, it was Malta was the player that pushed on the hay bales, and he was kind of the first point of contact, the scout, as it were. So, well done. Also, not overextending, because had he have pushed and got picked from pit, everything could have fell in a very different way for Renegades. But Sicko, aggression, some nade damage inflicted, and it's going to be Inns that actually burns Brocky alive, and Dexter through the smoke, perforating Nico. Exquisite start for Renegades, just what they're hoping for, and this could be a 4th round in a row.
Yeah, that was actually quite surprising from FaZe as well. Normally when you see those sort of pushes, you do have a 3rd or a 4th player there to like really go through together, but they tried it as a duo, and hey, the manpower alone, but there's Rain to step up with 2 back of his own. The T's now going to be a little bit more hesitant as what direction to go in. Olov just lugging above, not the prime position for an AWP, but he's going to hit the shot anyway. Leaves Dexter into this 1 versus 2, and he may not know that there's a man sneaking around the corner and the smoke about to fade.
Both players respecting that as being a possibility. So Dexter is allowed safe passage across to the site. FaZe will have no issues with him getting this plant, and he's trying to play the 4D chess, he's trying to rotate all the way around the backside. The timing could be so brutal for either of these 2 players. coldzera thought about the peak, decided against it, and now Dexter is just walking through onto the arches. If he continues this way, he may actually get across the B side. Now coldzera's realized, but the flick into the head, and he must realize Olof, last seen in the apps, is still going to be nowhere near close enough to fend off this plant. That being said though, Olof, very quick up banana. The Molotov thrown in just to stall him. Allows Dexter to move in, but he's came off the bomb. He's decided against going for the full plant. That's going to take him even more time now to put this down and leave him vulnerable. Olof not going to push him behind this, assuming it could be another fake. He still has a HE to his name. Dexter, completely barren, completely empty on the nade front, but the bullets are more than good enough to dispatch Olofmeister. Drills into the forehead, and Renegades with 4 rounds on the bounce.
So if you ever want to ask me the reason of why I am a fan of Dexter, watch this round back. Because everything he did in this round was perfect. Like, he's so good at his positioning, able to sneak around the back, the kill onto cold. It was like he had a 6th sense that there was a man just waiting there for him. And he basically set himself up into a position where he gets that 1v1, which seemed very unlikely by the way the round actually started off. and then he's just got the headshots to back it up. So sick play from Dexter. He gives them a 4th round, which, in all honesty, after like Rain's double and the pickup from Olof was looking very, very unlikely. And now Renegades, they're back in this match.
They are very much in this one again. That being said, though, even though the momentum has certainly shifted in Renegade's favor, FaZe Clan will be like, look, yeah, this has been a bit disappointing. We're still 8-4 in the lead.
Yeah.
If we can step things back up and get an 11-4 half, that is a sick half of CS on Inferno CT side. So we are in a very interesting, balanced position, I would say. Momentum versus just the raw stats. But can Renegades build upon this? Again, it's a sick individual play from Dexter that gets them across the finish line.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to get the blood pumping. That's something we've pretty much known from Australia in general, that passion for Counter-Strike's always going to be there, and I'm enjoying seeing them fight back in this match. Of course, they had to deal with the opposite in yesterday, so to be able to be the ones almost starting to grind is definitely good to see. They're starting to be given a lot more control as well. Like before, there had been many battles for Banana, now for free. So maybe the CT side starting to make decisions that it's not really worth this fight. They got wrecked on it in the last round. The issue with that, though, is the only information you now really get on Banana is based off footsteps, which, although you can sort of gauge how many players are there, if Renegades are smart with it, they could hit these 2 players without them really knowing too much about how this is going to go. And more importantly, look at where the A-site defense is. That rotation is not coming anytime soon.
Absolutely. As it stands, it seems like it's more of a gamble stack on the A side, being more static in a defense. Plus, FaZe haven't really shown that they're happy to play 3 players on B early on. This is something that a lot of teams will do, and it's just gone pretty pear-shaped for Nico. Out in the open court, and it's that man again, Dexter, who was on 007 at one point, has really turned his fortunes around. Brocky, this is such a rough position to be in. He's just trying to stall to allow the rotation to come through on the CT side. Rain is moving in with Olofmeister. Coldzera just making sure it's not a fake, and it isn't, but he's gone down, Rain. Brocky, though, in the meanwhile, is still alive on the new boxes. He's a pivot point they can play off. He's done such a good job to even get 2 kills from that position. It may still be untenable for FaZe to win this round from this point, but he's given them a real opportunity to strike now. Coldzera's AWP surely is the piece of the puzzle that could fall into place for FaZe if they're going to clutch this, but he's actually just playing in ruins, watching the backside. There's still time to play with, but they're going to have to get a move on if they're going to clutch this.
I'm more worried for them being able to escape now because the smoke's actually beginning to fade. I think it'll be completely gone by the time they actually look to exit out of the site, and this will finally be that damage done onto their money. Sure, they have the maximum loss bonus, but on the CT side, with no extra cash, it's not enough to get a buy. So this is more about escaping. Luckily, they had a smoke of their own, and obviously the T's themselves, their cash is good, but they weren't really willing to take too much of a risk here. So they're going to get to escape. They'll keep their guns, but hey, that was another great round. And pretty much they broke down a strategy that was, I would guess, a little bit unlucky for FaZe. They took a risk. It didn't pay off. Brocky did an amazing job of staying alive. I think he was alive in that site for 25 to 30 seconds and still managed to get 2 kills. But the rest of the team on Renegades managed to find those openers, and that's what they were missing. There was none of that in the early rounds. They were getting pushed down mid, they were getting peaked from every angle and losing every duel. Now Dexter, I think Inns as well, has started to step up to the plate, and that's been the difference maker.
And their better side is to come as well, so they're giving themselves a real foundation to play off once they do go through onto the CT side of things. Coldzera, similar position to where Nico got picked off in the round prior, has been tagged down to 53, and considering he's the lone defender on B, the B Warden, maybe momentarily unlocked from Renegades if they decide to push behind this, but they're actually going to be congregating through middle. Now, this is where things get a little bit sketchy, Tom. FaZe are stacking 4 players here, albeit not on full weaponry, but pistols at this range. These crossfires can be so deadly.
Yeah, especially with the ability to just a shot or 2, maybe from different players, can actually be enough to just end a kill with the Deeg, even if it's to the leg. It can be ridiculous with that gun. Unfortunately, it seems that every time the FaZe take a risk, Renegades go, you know, the B site's feeling pretty good right now. Let's just go in. Coldzera is going to be sat at the back. We've seen crazier things from this man. You've definitely seen crazier things from this man. Can he do it again?
Well, he's dropped the bomb with the first bullet, and he's going back in for seconds. He does leg Malta, but it's not enough to outright frag him. And that could be the round falling with him. As you say, Coldzera capable of so much, but also being in that shadow area at the back doesn't really allow him much more than a one-and-done situation. Rain, though, with the deagle, gonna chip in twice, and now Inz and Dexter, out of nowhere, have got to turn around and somehow fend off this onslaught. Dexter's doing a beautiful job, though, with his SG, trying to spray down for the third. They do have a kit in the hands of Olofmeister. There's more than enough time to play with. Inz is gonna be called upon once again. Needs to flick across to Olofmeister, who's been a bit quiet recently, but there is the spray with the SG from Inz. And they can breathe a sigh of relief. That was far too close.
Rain? Where did that come from? Like, legitimately, but he got 3 kills. One of them was, okay, a decent pot flash, but 1-degged while a guy was running in the other direction. He gets 2 more getting back into the site. FaZe are getting these rounds very, very close, but Renegades are showing their own clutch nature to hold on. Again, Dexter, he has stepped up massively. 007 to 9 to 12, he's turned this around, and more importantly, okay, sure, they're not fragging out of their minds. You look at the statistics, and FaZe look like they're winning this game by miles, but these last few rounds, they've been hella clutch.
100%. I mean, even if FaZe go in at halftime feeling a bit hard done by after being 8-0 in the lead, they can look back at a few rounds and think this could have been so much more one-sided in our favor if Renegades didn't just pull off these miracle plays. Like that Dexter play in particular, you know, really springs to mind. It's been a very entertaining half of CS. We were fearing the worst, Tom, at one point, thinking, oh God, it's going to be a stomp. Nah, this is as close as it gets, really, and FaZe still have a job to do. Not going aggressive now. You'll notice, as you highlighted, a lot of those flashy, aggressive, confident plays have dried up, and it's back to default CS.
Oh, Rain, able to do a lot of damage over the last round. He now has his rifle back in hands. We've seen some doubles out from him so far, but there's going to be plenty of players pushing their way through the apps. He's left blind and hits the headshots, but I don't think they expect Cold to be here as well. Finally, this setup on short does some damage, but Olof goes down without a single kill. He needed something there, especially taking such a risky push into the site alone. Now the remainder of Nico and Brocky going for this retake on A. I don't think I've actually said that throughout this game so far. The bomb has not gotten down on A much at all. Can they finally show us an A retake?
Likely not. Dexter is going to thin the herd as Brocky feels the pain. And now Nico will be flashing over on short, trying to draw out that player from the alcove side. He's now showing his hand, but a lot of damage inflicted back to Nico. It's not a clear-cut frag. Molotov into pit. Inz is burning alive and actually sacrifices himself to secure the kill. So he's done his job, and FaZe will lead 8-7. I cannot believe it's that close, though, Tom.
No, unbelievable. A complete turnaround, 8 rounds in a row, 7 rounds back. We'll see who's going to continue the trend coming up after a short break.
The Aussies fought back until the bitter end of the first half. At one point, it was 8-0, but Renegades went on a tear of 7 rounds in a row, and now they move across their CT side. I know, Tom, you have been looking forward to see what they have in store here.
Yeah, I think they have a good CT side. I think that Sicko is going to start to show what he actually has. He's a fairly passive AWPer, in all honesty, with how he plays this map. It's more just almost like MSL in a sense. It was like, make sure you hit the shot, then move back. Then make sure you hit the shot and then move back. And I want to say that he has a slightly better ability at the same time. So I'm looking forward to seeing him on this map. I think you'll see him on the A site the majority of the time. Also, we've said him a million times, but Dexter. He's going to get in the faces of FaZe. We saw it a bit yesterday versus Fnatic, but he was a little bit more reserved. He wasn't pushing down mid quite as much, but he's that rotating player, and it's going to be important that he basically plays as well as he just did towards the end of the last half.
See that, speaking of Sicko, he's currently actually rotating towards the CT side. He's playing more of that anchor role. He can quickly rotate to either side depending on what the call ends up being. Still 2 smokes possessed by FaZe with a Molotov and a flash. They've given nothing away thus far, but also the position through CT there is used because they don't have any presence over on long. So he's playing this very deep, almost A defense, which is strange to say considering that Sicko is in CT spawn, but that's the nature of what they're going for here, is to be fluid and adapt to what FaZe do.
Yeah, they've got a decent amount of utility as well, so maybe attempting to deny any sort of B push if it comes in. We can see that the apartments is where this battle is going to occur. Smoke falls out just to allow them to jump out of the apartments without the CT side being able to see too much. Dexter lurking in the graveyard is going to be tough to clear, and Hats on the site. He spotted one, but he's a little bit too slow to actually look for that kill. Another one comes in for Nico and Rain. And this round again, like the last pistol, looks done. However, I don't really see this one going back.
No, I definitely don't see this happening, especially when they have a HE flash and a smoke. There's a reason to actually save here for Renegades. And, well, it's... The A site 2E5 retake's got to be up there as one of the hardest sites to retake in the entirety of Counter-Strike. Like, this is absolutely brutal to try and go in for, no matter how good of a pistol player you are. The downside for Renegades, though, is, you know, we've been building up their CT side. They're going to be a bit stalled before they can really get into the meat of it now, with FaZe Clan taking the pistol. This affords them to get SMGs, they could maybe even get some SGs if they feel up to it, and start to romp towards that 16-round mark. So the pressure is back on Renegades. Yes, you had a phenomenal comeback in the first half, but can you keep it going? Are they going to be able to actually save this utility? Yes, just about. Inns holds on to the HE, the flash, and the smoke.
Yeah, something additional to play with at least. I guess if they do force into this one, we could see that utilized to slow any pushes towards the B side. I'd be a bit surprised if they don't, because they are very reliant on the AWP coming in for Sicko, so you can see they will invest a smoke on every single player as well, which is basically what you want to see when it comes to Inferno. It doesn't matter so much about getting an SMG or maybe even a rifle dropped over. That's not really going to work on the CT side. You want to basically force FaZe into where you are.
It's a good way of looking at it. Plus, you can stall, if you are on the right timings for Renegades, you can maybe put FaZe into a bit of an awkward position, but they're actually not taking this slowly. They're utilizing those 2 MAC-10s, and they are looking for blood. Rain straight in. He actually switches a bit prematurely, and it's going to backfire. Sicko and Hats holding the line, albeit both exceptionally low, using that smoke as cover now. Nico has to pull back into pit. That smoke onto the wrap side is now depleted, but there's going to be another one there. This isolates the 2 players on the A site to their fate. But there's no HEs or Molotovs to toss in, so if FaZe go in looking here up close, there is always that possibility that a dink could be more than enough damage for the rest of the team to come and clean it up. There's still time, because FaZe was so fast in getting onto the site, they're not into any rush to try and pick up the stragglers. But that second smoke is cleared. Now there's no more utility to the name of FaZe. This is where things are going to get very dicey indeed. But Olof spraying up, taps Hats down. Sicko's gone the same way. There's still players around the A site, though. It's going to be Malta that's making a move with his deagle. One deke has connected onto Cold Zera, but he can't strike twice, and that leaves it all on Inns in a 1-on-2.
He needs this instant kill, and it's just not going to be happening. I feel a little bit bad for Hats there. I think he was killed through the wall.
Yeah, he was.
While he was on that box. So that's one of those positions that you can wallbang, but it does such a small amount of damage. But I guess the SG gives you that little bit more, and he goes down because of it. And the second that happened, you could see they were slowly isolated out. great resurgence from FaZe, because that was a round that easily could have swung out of control. They actually, I think they lost, what, 1 rifle in the end? They lose 2 SMGs, of course, but that's not the end of the world. And considering like that was a 5v3 and they were almost confined to the pit, that was dangerous. But look at this from Renegades, straight down mid.
It's a full eco, yeah. The other sad news is it's going to be a complete clean-up from Colterra. Gets 3, then smacked down by Malta. Is that, yeah, made to sweat a little bit, FaZe, but keep in mind that Renegades did force buy in that round. So, I mean, that's not really a successful round overall, even if they do lose a rifle. This is what it's all been building towards, though, Tom. 11-7, Renegades, with an AWP in the hands of Sicko. It's going to be a lack of nades, but everybody else is looking healthy.
Yeah, I'm more worried about Brocky. So he's got a Mac 10. I wonder if FaZe are about to throw in a fast play just to try and throw off the balance of Renegades. They managed to do things like this in the last half where they started. That's when things were going really well. They just basically ran down Renegades and didn't allow them anything. And that's exactly what Brocky's going for. But Malta, he's not going to allow for it. 2 kills straight off the bat. Okay, Nico gets a trade in the meantime, but they haven't just been able to run over Renegades. And that's so important in what is the first buy round on their CT half.
Yeah, I really like the call from FaZe. It doesn't end up working, but I love the idea, the intent there. The reputation of Inferno preceded this buy because, as you highlighted before, utility is king on this map. So that means they must realize at least a couple players would be skimping on head armor. That's where the Mac 10 shines. In actual fact, all 5 players did not purchase head armor. So on another day, if Brocky gets through onto the site, he's having a field day. So I really like the idea, it just doesn't quite work out.
Even still, though, at the moment, there's only a solo player in the form of Malta. Utility, he has none. Hats and Dexter, and the man's holding it. And the rotation's actually coming in from Sicko, so they're still going to have no utility to hold off this site. And on the other side, there's still enough utility to go for almost a full-on execute. They can have the double smokes. Molotovs can be thrown into the corners to try and clear out Malta, who's already tagged. And basically, this is going to come down to Sicko hitting a few shots with the AWP, but it's whether or not they can force him out. He's completely blind. He's just going to have to leave Malta to die. And that already gives this site over to FaZe Clan. In a round where already things were looking a bit dicey, they're now in not too bad a spot.
That's the reason you don't typically play that off angle, because you are very susceptible to being flashed. He was fully flashed and couldn't help his teammate out. Olof now watching the back, anticipating the flank. Dexter is waiting for his 2 teammates to start to move in. He's heard the footsteps and he is going to pounce. And that's going to open up an extra avenue of re-ingression from Renegades. This puts Coldzera in a really rough position, especially considering a 16 HP. But he's going to spin around on a penny and just to instantly drop Dexter. It's a one-on-one and Coldzera again comes out clutch. FaZe Clan are able to put up that 12th round. And Coldzera, what an utter beast of a player he is.
I just imagine Cold goes on Twitter before the match and goes, "Oh, Vince is casting me again. Okay, time to make some plays." That was ridiculous. That was, again, a round where it went back and forward all the way through, but Renegades look good in the retake. They get the timing from Dexter to get the kill. I think it was onto Olof, who'd just been manning the behind, and then out of nowhere, Coldzera 4K cleans things up. The big clutch plays that you can expect from a man who was formerly the best player in the world. And now we see Renegades falling back to the pistols. They've done some decent initial damage onto the Swede at least. And they've gone for the same short stack that we saw previously, but after not being pushed initially, they start to make that rotation.
HE's in. Renegades, it's going to be a bitter pill to swallow from their perspective, not just in the moment of the clutch, but also the aftermath sees them on pistols in an awkward position. It is an embarrassment of riches. Dexter's actually going to go around the back of them. I was beginning to believe in Dexter, but he's been found and dealt with by Brocky. Embarrassment of riches, how many ex-best players in the world or in the conversation they actually have. Hats in the meanwhile, though, with the Deagle, he's being swarmed by FaZe Clan. All he can do is hope for the best. Was that a jumping AK shot? Please tell me it wasn't. That is filthy. It's going to be a bomb plant to follow, and as anticipated, likely a 13-7.
Yeah, again, this just comes down to damage and stealing a weapon away. The T's already have a decent bank behind them. Ince has been able to pick off 1, but Cold in his element at the moment. 17 kills to his name, and I think he's not the only one as well. Nico at 18. I'm pretty sure Olaf might be on 17 as well. Like, as said, it's really difficult to play against FaZe when their stars do perform, and they're only 3 rounds away from taking their opposition's map pick. And I think the scariest prospect here is an 8-0 start, a 5-0 start, it's just taking too long for Renegades to get into the rhythm of things. And there's been a few big plays either side that have managed to pull things back for either team. But at the moment, Renegades are going, okay, the first few rounds, those are a gimme, and that can't happen. You need to be doing more at the beginning.
Such a streaky game indeed. 8 rounds to FaZe, then 7 to Renegades, then 5 back to FaZe again. A yo-yo of Counter-Strike. Olofmeister tagged down to 53. Are making moves into apps. Banana control has been established by Renegades. Whether they want to hold on to that or not is an entirely different matter. And to be fair to Renegades, this has been a clinical showing with grenades. They've done so much damage. Is that a P90?
I feel sick.
Great.
He's going to be just running out. I'm glad he got headshotted. That's what you deserve for buying that gun. But Cold Zero, he does trade one back. Sicko only manages one on the site, but he may have done his job. Hats, the new man in the team, he sat in pit. Clearly knows he's there, but does he know this man lurking around the edge of the smoke? He's managed to avoid Dexter, but not for long. And all the CT side are now here. Now, FaZe don't have to push back into this site anymore. They're watching for the flank, hoping that maybe they can get a free kill from behind. But for now, just playing it patient, hoping they can maybe force a rotation or two, make Renegades second-guess themselves. And to be fair, they have. One of the players is already gone, and you can see Malta with questions in his mind of whether or not this is still going to be a push towards A, but right at the last second, they get deep within the site, and things are about to get that a little bit more difficult for FaZe.
They do make the read, though, to go across to the B side. It's going to have to be quick. That may actually limit their options. They may have to hit A after all, but Renegades are making moves towards middle. This puts Dexter alone. He has to outright frag at least one of these oncoming players, and there we go. The bomb goes down. Call comes through, flicking to the head of Brocky. Dexter, I do love watching this guy play. I really do.
Yeah, I might need some new trousers afterwards, but other than that, the guy is playing out of his mind. And the thing is as well, the stars are aligned for FaZe there. They basically wrapped around at the perfect time. It was like just basically just a hidden game of them managing to avoid everything the Renegades were looking for. And Dexter's like, do you know what, guys? I'm going to wait a little bit because I have a feeling maybe something has happened that we haven't seen. And he just kills everyone. I don't know how he manages it. Still, Sicko this time, he's going to go for an early B play. Something we haven't seen from them so far. It gets the early pick onto Olive, who's been challenging Banana pretty much every single round. So I think it was a safe bet for Renegades. They knew that somebody was going to be there. They left it a bit more open. The T's have gained control for now, but I think the Aussies are going to be fairly happy with their man advantage.
Well, if the pattern is to continue, we're expecting Renegades now to go on a bit of a hot streak of their own. I'll have to wait and see if that does come to fruition. It's looking good, though. A bit of chip damage to Nico. We'll say, though, FaZe, even when they do lose players early on, they do such a good job of holding on to grenades and making sure that Renegades have to work for each inch of the map. Nothing is given away for free for Renegades. Even if they do take banana control, there's a couple of flashbangs there. FaZe regain what was once theirs. Renegades playing more passively. I assume this is Malta that's been boosted up. Indeed, he has. So they're playing this double contact over on the CT side. Now, Inns is going to move on site itself. 40 seconds to play with, Tom, and it seems like we're about to have a hit.
Yeah, with the smoke still there, but beginning to fade. There's no more utility available for the Renegades. Spray through is going to meet absolutely nobody, so the site almost has to be given up. Interestingly, there hasn't been a rotation just yet from two of the players. I think they're going to wait for that bomb to actually be planted, but that's the information necessary. Inns finally does manage to connect a couple of shots, but this is going to be a retake involving all 9 players. Only all of the initial frag not going to be here. And the time has already ticked quite far. Renegades, they really need to get a move on.
They do, and to make things a little bit more sketchy, they don't have a huge amount of utility to play with either, but Nico's missed his chance. He is domed through the wall, courtesy of Sicko. Flashes are on point, as is the aim. Rain now trying to hold off against everybody on Renegades, and he can only body bag Inns before he inevitably falls himself. 13-9, Renegades not done just yet.
I really like that from Renegades. It takes a huge amount of confidence to basically let the bomb go to about half of its timer, wait for everybody to be there, wait for the right utility to be thrown, and then make your play. You see so many teams just like, oh, we're running out of time, I've got to make a play, I've got to be the hero. There was no one there on Renegades who wasn't basically reading from the same script. They knew exactly what they needed to do, they knew exactly what they needed to peak. They lose one player when there was still 4 remaining from FaZe. That is a perfect retake.
And a perfect start to the subsequent round, 23. It's going to see FaZe on a half buy or low investment with Deagles. And Sicko this time peeking middle. Last round was through Banana. He's keeping his positions very much up in the air. FaZe can't make any reads based off that. And I think it also just goes to show the kind of leader that Dexter is, the kind of personality he is. That grenade, though, it's a nuke landing in middle. But when you have Dexter as the leader, you know nothing's really going to be that chaotic and frantic. He's such a calm, collected, chill guy. His calls likely will follow that suit. Obviously, we're just talking over this round a little bit as FaZe, barring a miracle play, have no real inroad back into this round, or should have no right to do so. Speaking of which, Ranger's crowd walks out and smashes ins. So that's the thing that just happened.
That's got to be one of those, like, why always me positions. Like, you're just like, he walks, what? Why? Why have you done that? And Nico, he's got a deagle of his own. I'm hoping, for Malta's sake, that he's not going to meet the same fate of his teammate. But even still, they've only lost one player, and that's the real benefit for Renegades at this stage, is they are starting to build up a real bank. That's exactly what you want to see on this CT side. It's not really a map where you can get away with losing a grenade or two, or even having a kit missing can be difficult because of how tough some of the retakes can be. So they're in a very good spot. Of course, now we see FaZe buy up, but even still, there's a limitation or two. Like, okay, they don't have the Kriegs, which FaZe were against for a while, but they've definitely come around. And they even have a Galil, which, well, nobody wants a Galil.
Even with the changes, even it became a little bit more viable, everyone still typically shuns it.
Yeah.
Take the Mac-10 over the Galil. We'll have to see if Brocky can put it to devastatingly strong effect. I mean, all these players were just swimming in frags early on. Now it's definitely dried up. Dexter being tagged up through the smoke, but does a lot of damage. Back onto Rain, trying to survive, but he's been dropped by Rain, who goes aggressive in the smoke. Hat's now waiting for the opportune moment, nearly whiffs it. He doesn't actually take any damage, but I did worry for him. Maybe that's where the Galil does come back to haunt Brocky somewhat. But FaZe Clan have control over the A side. They don't have control over Pit, however. Rain realizes this as a potential banana peel, as a potential hurdle they have to deal with. And because there's so much time left on the clock, they don't need to force a plant down just yet. They can wait a little bit longer, allow coldzera to get close enough and see if they can pick off Pit, which is exactly what Nico goes for, pulverizing it, raising the site to the ground. Speaking of which, Rain burns to a crisp on the site itself, bounced off the wall from Library, and we'll see Malta take the kill. And look at the bomb drop. This is absolutely brutal now for FaZe Clan. They went from being in control to having very little hopes. Olofmeister is going to catch Hat completely unaware on apps, and now at this point, Renegades know for certainty that it is going to be the A hit fully. There's no flanks coming from the B side. They can both fully support and try and push one another into the site as smokes and molotovs are being exchanged. Good utility usage again from FaZe. They still have a HE that they can bounce off the wall and do some significant damage on the approach, but Nico perched up on the boxes is going to be able to pluck off Malta, and the rest falls into place. It was a strange encounter in the end, but FaZe rose to the top.
That seemed like the weirdest battle for information I think I've ever seen. Like, it's very unlikely that you have a T side with the site that at one point, there was a moment where they had the site, they didn't have Pit, Graveyard, Apps, or Arch. That is unheard of. Like, I don't even know how that managed to happen. And they won the round because Olof managed to then go back around. It seemed like an almost like, okay, I know this, but he doesn't know that, who doesn't know this, who doesn't know that. And then it just came down to going, but Olof seems to somehow know everything. Because the player in Apartments, I don't think made a footstep, made a sound, did anything. And Olof was like, I'm just going to check this out. Even though it's been about 30 seconds of no one peeking, I'll just go and have a look anyway. That won them the round because that opened up everything. Sicko went down just before that. And FaZe, in a position which looked really tough, actually made it look relatively easy just by being calm in those situations.
Yeah, when that bomb dropped out in the open, I thought they'd lost the round right there because it was in such a rough position. They'd already wasted, I don't know, actually wasting is the wrong word. They'd used the time to allow Olof to get round the back, to allow the, I think it was maybe even coldzera was moving through the short side on quad. So I feared the worst, but again, that individual ability, and the thing with Olof is, even when he's had rough times, even when he's had events where he hasn't really shown what he's capable of, individual skill-wise, one thing that never will fade is in-game IQ. But speaking of the man, there is the curse. It came about 24 rounds late, but Olof has been put down, and it's Sicko again who breaks the deadlock for Renegades.
Yeah, he's been good at finding the openers with the AWP, but it looks like FaZe are not afraid to try and pressure him now, just pushing all the way around. Dexter comes under fire, but he burns. Both players from FaZe Alive takes the AK as his winnings. Cold does manage to eventually put him down, but it might be too little too late. Still 4 players stand for Renegades. Cold is left low. Nico with a nice shot. He needs to try and find the second as well. And if he does, this could be an opening. Malta just trying to switch away. And it seems like the majority of Renegades players are fleeing, but not Malta after the nade. He'll hit the headshot, leave Cold alone, low, and with 3 left.
As soon as he heard that nade bank off the wall, he knew he had to go in. That was when Nico was vulnerable. And that was Cold's error. You highlighted him as getting a pick earlier, but he was tagged down to 19 in the process. There's a player below him, and a snake in the grass, and Hats will let his presence be known. FaZe 14-11, still leading, but their economy in rough shape. Renegades have a chance to get themselves close to equality here.
Yeah, this is still definitely doable. And again, considering 8 rounds in a row and 5 rounds in a row at times for FaZe, to still be in the match shows how resilient they've been at winning a lot of their rounds. Their economy itself is not in the best state, so they want to try and keep this one nice and clean. They're up against some Deagles, which we've already witnessed have been difficult to deal with. In fact, not necessarily the play always highlight, especially when you've got Nico and Cold on the team. It's been Rain, who's just been really annoying with the Deagles. Like 3K in one round, a kill just walking out of smoke in another. So they do have to be careful here, and you can kind of see that in the way that they're playing. Sure, they're battling for Banana, but the players around the A site are more than reserved, all the way back, making sure that FaZe have to go peeking into the angles. And of course, that is where the Deagle is weaker. You want to be holding, you want to be waiting for the peek. Instead, the Ts aren't going to give, or CTs aren't going to give them anything.
It's one of those reasons why I think Rain is just such a phenomenal player. He's one of those guys that often will fly under the radar, and for a long time in FaZe was overshadowed by some of the bigger personalities. But if you give Rain a job, he'll do it. If you need him to entry, he'll do it, no problems. Actually, coming up next is Mirage, and a position that he has been so prolific in for such a long time is playing up on the ramp side and pushing smokes from CT side all the time. You never know what to expect with him. Speaking of that, Cold's error, he's got a Deagle, and Sicko's just been out-peaked by the Deagle with an AWP, so he's feeling a bit sick to his stomach. The good news, though, for him is that Cold's error has at least been punished by overextending on the quad side without the rest of his teammates backing him up. 2-on-4 falls into position. They do have the bomb. If they can deal with Dexter, they still have to handle Hats, who is just behind him in the pit side, and Brocky now finds himself in a 1-on-4. Scratch that. It is 14-12, so Renegades move 1 step closer.
I feel like Dexter's the teammate you want.
Oh,
he plays very aggressive. He gets in the faces of his opposition, normally gets you openers. He can win rounds with what is an SMG. We saw that a couple of rounds ago. His utility usage is fantastic. We just saw him get a flash assist to help out the man in pit, and he's calling. If he can pick up an AWP, then he's basically got the roundhouse, and we can just get a few of him playing at the same time. If anybody got a cloning machine, we could, well, we could create one of the most disgusting teams probably in existence. 5
Dexters. I'm on board for that. Definitely on board for that. I think FaZe would be happy to keep things as they are right now, although they are coming under fire quite literally in the form of Nico, but Malta was anticipating the double smoke peak, caught with a Molotov in his hands. It will be an even trade. That is going to hurt Renegades. It forces over an early rotation in the form of Dexter, who's made a move through CT. So not the ideal start for Renegades, although it was looking like it when Malta spammed Nico up on Banana.
We see that same nade attempted from Renegades, the dunk over the top. Of course, there is a skybox you can hit that basically just gives you a free drop onto the heads of anybody around the car. And now, though, again, FaZe just slowing things down, being patient. They have the advantage here, even if the manpower is the same on either side. They can gather up to either site, and they may be about to even try and bait out a few players here. They have some smokes to throw over to the library side to block off some positions. You can see some counter utility being expended by Renegades, and no rotation is going to be coming in for a long time. So it is going to come down to the 2 players on the site. The only worry for me from FaZe is Ins in that backline with an SG. We've spoken about this gun many times. It is filth.
It certainly is, especially in positions like this where he can play almost like a turret. Just stay in position, tap, 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 tap. Even as Molotovs and flashes, you know if you've got that right headshot angle, but that flashbang completely neutralizing. I think what caught him off is that Rain actually went aggressive just before the flash properly detonated. Up close is Dexter, but he's gone down. They know Inns is lurking in the shadows. He's been dealt with. The bomb planted with 5 seconds to go. Renegades so close to denying this purely off the basis of time, but now it is going to be ticking against them as they try and retake. Sicko and Hats already expended their one bit of utility in the form of a Molotov. Olofmeister tagged down to 6, but he's able to stay in position on second oranges, allowing the rest of his teammates to just try and get into position and just watch these angles. They have garden covered. They have a more defensive position in the form of Shadow, and because so much time has elapsed, they have to back out. They have to give this one up. The chase is over, and FaZe Clan will take a 15th. Sicko, though, will not take the AWP out of the round.
Oh, Olof does go down, though. So they did make things costly, but I don't think it was worth it. They've lost the AWP. The money for them is not in the best situation. Sure, Hats can drop one over. Maybe Dexter will take a hit, which is something he seems to do quite regularly for the team. But it leaves them now map point up against them, so you can kind of understand why they wanted to try and fight that. And more importantly, the buy, it's not going to be awful, but it's not going to be great.
They're into a bit of a sketchy position of trying to hold on their choice of map, remember. Mirage is up next. That's going to be FaZe's home ground. Malta, Molotov in, smokes, flashes, segregating the two teams from one another. A hefty chunk of damage inflicted. He sees the shadow of Rain that betrays him. And it's a 1-for-1, but meanwhile, Sicko pushing down middle for the first time. FaZe did this, but Renegades finally pulling out this play when everything is on the line. Lots of damage still inflicted to FaZe. In terms of HP, Renegades do lead, but it's a 3-on-3.
Yeah, and they're fairly low on utility as well. They've got a couple of HEs, which that's not going to be massive in terms of stopping power. A singular smoke onto Hats, who, if I'm honest, on the wrong side of the map. You want that for B. That's the better place to try and slow FaZe down. In the meantime, there's still a Molotov and a smoke available for the T side to get things working. And I think Hats, he's just going to keep this aggressive position just because they need the information. They need to know if somebody's coming. It's more going to come down to timing, though. You can see him switching between the two different angles. If Cold peeks this, he could be in real trouble. Luckily, there is some support coming in the form of Dexter, but they're still very hesitant as to where this is going to be going. In this long-range battle with an MP9, you'd bet on the AK all day.
Yeah, but if Dexter sees them, that's where Hats can peek out from Boiler. Now they've missed that avenue. They've missed that opportunity. Hats needs to make a move around. Dexter still unsure as to which way to go, and Hats has been plucked out. Now the MP9's in a real rough position, but that's the bomb that's gone down. Coldzera makes sure that Dexter can't double up, and Inns is a mile away from the action. He's not going to be able to deny the bomb plant. A hefty chunk of that timer is going to dwindle away as well, and he has no grenades to get back on. There is a HE just below him they can pick up for himself now. Maybe that ordnance can work, but Coldzera on quad, having a solid performance, ending it on 26 kills. He's going to get FaZe across the finish line. You've got to give props to Renegades after going down 8-0. We feared the worst, but they made a real go of this game.
Yeah, they definitely made things interesting, and it seems like there's a fair amount to talk about. But of course, we're going to be having ourselves a short break, and we'll be back to break it down after that.